Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and I am here on my YouTube channel and documenting my entire journey as a first-time gardener. I have been planting crops, I've been harvesting some crops, I have been actually able to eat some of my crops. I will not be able to do that though if I go away this weekend and I don't have some sort of an irrigation system in place. So I ran out yesterday. I've heard a lot, I've seen a lot on drip irrigation. So I am going to go ahead and I got a garden kit. It was a garden drip kit. I think it's called I'll go grab the box. I think it's called Mr. Landscaper. You can pick it up at Lowe's. It's an all-inclusive kit to get you started on your vegetable garden. I figured that was the best way to go for us. I just got back from Lowe's because there were a couple of other things that I wanted to get. You can buy it as a kit, but they also sell all of the parts and pieces for replacement parts, for adding on, for additional things you may need for the irrigation system. So we are going to lay it out. We are going to try to hook it up, the entire process. I'm setting the camera down and I'm bringing you guys along for the ride. So on that note, let's get into the video. The first thing that we did, you can see my spigot right back there. That's what we're going to connect to. The very first thing we did, and we actually did this last night, was we sort of figured out, look, I have some visitors, please excuse them, figure out which faucet we wanted to run to and then sort of which direction we wanted the tubing to go. And I decided we're going to run a hose from that connection this way to the edge of my flower bed, and then you'll see the tubing right here on the ground. This stuff is really hard to manipulate. I will put in text on the screen exactly the size of this tubing and what it's called, but it's going to run and get staked right in here. And then from there, I am going to be running a line up into this pot, up into this pot. Hi girls, how are you? What you doing, Esther? Up into this pot, up into my carrot pot. I've got nothing in that pot back there. You can see it goes across the walkway, back behind this bush. It'll go right along the shed. And then we decided that we were going to go between the two beds. I had originally thought that we would just run the length of both of these beds right here. And my husband said, by the time you get to the end of this bed, the water pressure is going to be significantly different than what it was at the beginning of this bed over here. So if we bring them right here in between, and then the lines run long ways, the drip lines run long ways down this bed. We're going to do 3. 1, 2, 3. Same for this. 1, 2, 3. Running long ways down the bed. They're all going to have the same pressure from this feeding hose right here up into the beds. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is run my tape measure down the length of the bed and get the inside measurements so that I know what to measure my drip tube. That's going to be the first thing that we do, is cut the drip tube that lays and drips the water inside the bed. Okay, so we have our tape measure set up. We need 82 inches worth of drip line for 6 lines in those 2 beds. We have a lot of excess on the end, starting with this drip line that we want to get rid of. We're going to cut off 6 inches. We're going to adjust by 6 inches so that our drip line, our drips are centered in the bed a little bit better. All right, the next thing that we are going to do is the line that goes from the original tube up into the beds that we can attach the drip line to. We're just going to take a simple measurement, an eyeball measurement that we'll use as our template to cut the 6 of our lines. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add plugs to the ends of our drip lines and start plumbing the drip lines with the connection lines. So now that we have the lines plumbed, we're just going to lay them in the beds. One going down the middle, one right here, you can see, on the edge, and then we'll do one on the other edge. So what we're doing is just running the line down the first third of the box, and then we're going to take stakes that sort of cup onto the drip line and stake in the ground so that it won't move, and then down on the ground where the tubing ran to the two beds. We have the kit comes with a little tool to poke a hole in, where we poke a hole in that line and we connect the bed tubing to the original hose. Alright, so the last thing we have to put on is the connection to the hose. It's a special specific type of connection that threads onto the end of the hose, which attaches to the faucet, but we have to run the hose to the timer and the faucet, which is just across the patio. Alright, so the last thing we have for the evening is just running the stakes up into my pots along my flower bed here to bring the water to the pots. Alright, so after we turned everything on, we realized that the sprayers that came on the stakes, they were really cool, but they would give entirely too much water to these plants in these pots. The drip line that came with the kit is a ½ gallon per hour drip, so we are switching, or we decided to switch out the stakes with a different water distribution piece, I guess you could call it, that is also a drip that is a ½ gallon per hour.